How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all having a good day. So first things first, we're going to give away those games from the last video, which were, what were they? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and Devil May Cry, both on the PS2. Looks like we had 44 different unique commenters on the last video, and the winner is Trader Mike. So Trader Mike, if you're seeing this, just send me a message to gettingnerdon13@gmail.com, and I'll get that out into the mail for you as soon as I can. And if you didn't win, don't worry, we're going to have another giveaway in this video. Alright, so let's check out these two packages from eBay. I haven't been buying much stuff on there, but they did have a coupon recently that was $3 off a purchase of anything that was $3 or more. So with the coupon, this cost me 45 cents shipped. It's a copy of Virtua Tennis, and I thought we could check it out together because I have heard pretty good things about this. It's a pretty ambitious game, and I do like it, but I will say sometimes the AI can just be insanely stupid or a complete ball hog, and you'll probably see that in the footage. Virtua Tennis was developed by Ultron Corporation, published by THQ, and released exclusively for the Game Boy Advance in 2002. Called Power Smash in Japan, Virtua Tennis was originally an arcade game released in 1999 in the GBA version as a variation of that arcade game. You choose between 14 players, including Venus and Serena Williams, multiple match types, and multiple court types. Playing the World Tour has you create your own character and compete around the world. You can build up their performance through minigames and by buying upgrades. Up to 4 Game Boys can be linked together to play with friends, however each player must have their own copy of the game. And up next is a Neo Geo game. Now I did find a Neo Geo AES console at a Savers like 6 years ago, made a video about it and everything, still my favorite find to this day. And I've been collecting on and off when I can find this stuff for decent deals in auctions or using eBay Bucks or coupons or whatever. And this is a game that I have been looking for quite a while, just never seeing it at a good price, and finally someone listed this game for $60 and I just jumped right on it. Now when you want to play a quick Neo Geo game, besides the fighting games, there's 2 games that are my go-tos. The first is League Bowling, and this is the second one, and you can play through them if you have about 15 minutes to spare. This is Thrash Rally, just a fun arcade-style racing game with endless replayability and a great art style in my opinion. There's the double boards on the bottom of the cart, and if you've never seen what a Neo Geo AES cartridge looks like, well, this is what it looks like. And on the top, some of them have these input jacks where you connect to another copy of the game. It essentially system links the 2 consoles together. Thrash Rally was developed by ADK, published by SNK, and released exclusively for Neo Geo hardware in 1991. It's a top-down rally racing game where you race with cars, a motorcycle, a dune buggy, or a heavy truck, all with unique stats. Since there is no licensing in the game, the vehicles are based off of real-life brands with their names slightly altered, like Porsche, Mitsubishi, and Toyota. Thrash Rally offers 2 modes of play, World Championship mode and a cross-country mode. World Championship mode features 5 stages played one at a time: Monaco, Kenya, Greece, Finland, and the United Kingdom. Cross-country mode has you racing across Africa in 6 back-to-back stages trying to finish in a single attempt. Failing any checkpoint has you starting over from the beginning of the whole race. Thrash Rally was re-released for modern consoles in 2018. Next up is a Craigslist deal for Yoshi's Woolly World on the Wii U. This is kind of the deluxe version that came with the game and the amiibo. I was a huge fan of the Wii U when it came out. At one point I was going for a full set of games until I realized what I had left was pretty much shovelware and garbage that I didn't want anywhere near me, so I abandoned finishing the set. And here's a closer look at everything. There was a pink, a green, and a blue amiibo all released for Yoshi's Woolly World and all made of yarn like this. There was also actually a mega green Yoshi released too. But I bought my girlfriend the blue one when it came out because she absolutely loves Yoshi. And the amiibo that came in here was actually opened and she needed the pink one, so I gave her the one that was out of here. And Nintendo re-released the yarn amiibo a couple months ago, so I was able to go to the store and buy a brand new one to replace it. And I did already own this game, but I did want it for the full box set, so I traded the copy that came in here, and the one that I own turned out to be sealed. And we'll check that all out in a minute. But here's a closer look at the amiibo. These are made of yarn, and they fit the style of the game perfectly. Now, the more I played this game, the more I loved it. It's such a good game. The controls are great, the art style looks great, it displays in 1080p, and I did do some research to see what the difference between this and the 3DS version was, and I'll just say, like, one of the big selling points of this game is obviously the art direction, like seeing all the yarn and seeing how everything's constructed in the game. But the 3DS version, because it's not as powerful as the Wii U, it loses a lot of those textures and a lot of those subtleties in it. And the 3DS version probably plays identical to the Wii U version, but you just lose all those little things that really just tie the game together. And if you want to play it on anything, I recommend just playing it on the Wii U. It's not very expensive and it's pretty much the gem of the exclusive games left on that console. And I'd assume that it's going to come to the Switch at one point, but Yoshi's Crafted World came out a few months ago, and that would have been the perfect time to release Woolly World on the Switch too. Yoshi's Woolly World was developed by Goodfield, published by Nintendo, and released exclusively for the Wii U in 2015. Woolly World is a side-scrolling platformer where everything is made out of yarn, cloth, and other sewing components. After Kamek turns almost all Yoshis into bundles of yarn for Baby Bowser, there are only 2 left to travel through 6 worlds and recover the Wonder Wool. The game can be played single-player or 2-player co-op. It was ported to the 3DS in 2017 17, including extra content under the title Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. Woolly World is the 7th main entry Yoshi game and the 11th in the Yoshi series released overall. It is one of the few first-party Wii U titles that has yet to be ported to the Switch. Alright, now it's time to go back to the flea market. Great day, a lot of people here, a lot of vendors, not too hot out. We're going to go around and see if there's anything to find here. And we're off to a good start. The first thing I see here is this DualShock controller in the box. Now, it's not brand new in the box, but it's still in there, and the guy only wants $4 for it. It was in this tub of cables, and at the bottom of it, there's another DualShock controller. The guy only wants $4 for that too, but I honestly don't need another loose DualShock controller. I showed one in the previous episode, and yeah, I don't need another one. Here is a 360 controller. It's in really nice shape, and the vendor wants $10 for it. I don't need another one for $10. If it was $5, I would have picked it up, but the guy's not willing to budge because he says it's in perfect condition, which it really is, so I'm going to leave it behind. And here's a bin of Star Trek Expanded Universe books. Now, I was big into the Star Wars Expanded Universe for a little while, but then of course Disney stepped in, bought everything, and made all of the Expanded Universe non-canon, which sucks because a lot of those writings could have really fixed the Solo movie. And here's a bunch of cheap PC games: Prison Tycoon 4, Supermax. Here we got, what is that, Wheels of Steel Convoy, or 18 Wheels of Steel Convoy, and then Zuma. Just some cheapo, addicting PC games that you can play. Here's a Batman plug and play. The guy only wants $2 for it, so I'm going to pick it up because I don't have a Batman plug and play and I want to do a review on this, so look out for that coming up soon. And here we have a tub of random cables, and you've heard me say it before, and I'm going to say it again. Every time you come across something like this, go through it and buy everything you can find for video games. If it's $1 or $2 and it's first party, there's a lot of first party stuff in here, and it's all in really nice shape. There's a GBA link cable up there. Here is a DS AC adapter. There's also a Nintendo AV cord down there. There's also a PS1 AV cord in here. I think these were all $1 a piece. Can't go wrong there at all, and they're in nice shape. There's a head for a hose up there. Just some completely random stuff. There's an AV cord for the 360. I've seen that a bunch, but I'm not exactly sure what it's for. Just all kinds of stuff in here. Power cords, everything. And again, when you can find this stuff cheap and in good shape, just stock up on it. And here are some old 1982 ET figures made by LJN. They're actually in pretty nice shape. Guy wants 50 cents a piece on these. He has 5 different ones of the series, so I am going to pick up 2 sets of these. I'm a big fan of ET, and of course LJN is very famous in the video game world. There's a few good things that they put out, but mostly they publish garbage. Here's some random CDs, and there's 2 Dreamcast games mixed in. Nothing special, NFL 2K and 2K1. Here is a Spider-Man plug-and-play. This is another Jakks Pacific one. This one is the joystick design, which is the best form they have in my opinion. It's the most comfortable and it works the best. I am going to leave this behind because I do see these all the time, but in the future I do want to make a video on this. And here's a table we've seen before with random games. There's Mafia 3 for the Xbox One. What else we got here? Modern Warfare 3. Here's Assassin's Creed Syndicate with a price tag from one of the pawn shops that we've been to. And the gem on the table is this blue DualShock 3 controller, which I will be picking up. Here's a table full of 10-footers, a lot of Pets games, Art Academy, more Pets. Just trash for days. There's Makeover, Littlest Pet Shop Friends. A guy wants $3 a piece or 2 for $5. There's Red Faction, Call of Duty, Crimson Skies. There's what is this? Garden Warfare, just missing the artwork. Here's Just Dance 2016, Disney Infinity, and you're seeing PS4 and Xbox One games showing up a lot more at the flea markets recently. It's been out kind of long enough now that they're kind of finally funneling out there. There's also a copy of the Diego game in a baggie full of discs, most likely 10-footers with Acme Arsenal on the top. Here's Medal of Honor, Harry Potter, and Surf's Up below that. And here are some lunch boxes. Now, I really do love these. I have a lot of nostalgia for these. There's Little Mermaid, but I really don't have any room to collect anything else. Here is the Lion King one, and these all had their thermoses. They're just filthy. Here's a Casper one, the Golden Books group. This is probably from the late 80s, early 90s. Which one is this one? Another Little Mermaid one. I like to collect them, I just don't have the room for it. And the filthiest is the one I would have picked up, which is the Tiny Toon Adventures one. Here are just tubs of movies and games, some Call of Duty, Skyrim. Here is WWE 13. These games were $2 a piece. I am going to pick some of these up. There's SmackDown vs. Raw, Killzone, High Velocity Boeing. $2 a piece you cannot go wrong with. Even if they're sports games. There's NBA 2K something, NFL, NHL, just all kinds of games. They're in really nice shape. $2 a piece is probably fine even for a case at this point. There's WWE 2K games, Ben 10 Galactic Racing. Before that was NCAA Football 13. Not the expensive one, but it still has a little bit of value to it. And there's Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock, of course, with Slash in it. Now here are some Atari games. Guy wants $10 a piece for the ones on the table. Didn't ask how much the consoles were, and the games that are in the stack here, he wants $5 a piece for. In this day and age, Atari games are essentially worthless, so I try to only pay $1 a piece for them. And here we are back at the guy who has that wall of games. Here's Legends of the Diamond, which is one I've never heard of, so I will be picking it up. Here's Bases Loaded. What else we got? Tetris, Jeopardy, Spy Hunter. This guy always hooks you up with a great deal. And he also gives you coffee. Here's a copy of Arkanoid. I still need to get an NES Arkanoid controller as well as a DS Arkanoid attachment that was only released in Japan. Didn't notice it while I was there, but there's a Dreamcast controller hanging in the back. Here's some acclaimed soccer game and Mario Paint before that. There's a random hockey game, Stanley Cup, Madden, 10-footers. Here is Scooby-Doo. I know this game's not worth much, but I'm going to pick it up because I don't have it, and we'll check it out here. There's the Capcom football game. I don't know what that is beneath it. What else do we have here? Some Game Boy stuff. Deer Hunter. I can't read what this one is. Below it we have Pac-Man and then F1 Race. Just stuff I already have or I really don't want. And this is behind the case. The guy will let you go behind here if you just ask him. This is Missile Command. What else do we have here? Here is the Sonic game for the GameCube with a Yu-Gi-Oh disc in it, which is very common, either to have a different disc or no disc at all. There's a copy of Wii Sports Resort up there, probably scratched to hell because there's no case for it. Some PS1 stuff, Men in Black, I wouldn't mind checking that out at some point, it's probably awful. Here's Punch Out, and of course on cue, there's We Play in it. Just a common thing to see around here. Watch Miss Tiffany videos and you'll see the same thing there when she's at the flea market. Here's some PS1 stuff. Xbox One stuff. Again, you're just seeing more and more of it. There's Zumba. I mean, they're 10-footers, but they're still here regardless. Here's Hot Wheels All Out for the Game Boy Advance. I'm going to pick this up because I do love the GBA, but I'm going to give you a warning. Just stay as far away from this game as you possibly can because it is absolute garbage. We're still going to check it out in this video, so don't you worry about that. Here's a Dora the Explorer game. I'm not exactly sure what console this is for. Star Wars Battlefront. There's Spider-Man for the 3DS. Call of Duty for the DS. Zoo for the Xbox One. I don't know. There's just so many random things. NBA. 10-footer City. The guy just has games on games on games. Here's a bunch of N64 stuff with a Doritos bag floating around in there. There's Ridge Racer 64 in there, some more Super Nintendo stuff up here. There's a lot of 10-footers here, but if you're looking to beef up your collection, they're pretty clean and pretty cheap. And he'll let you go through all this stuff, and you can always haggle too if you want. And again, he gives you coffee, which is nice because you normally hear it right in the morning. And so now we're going to check out the finds. This is that DualShock controller. Now this is an original DualShock for the original PlayStation. This is an island blue color. I don't have one of these and I'm psyched to add it to the collection. Probably know by now that I love finding this stuff in the box. This isn't brand new, but it's in good enough shape to display in a collection. So for $4, it's a no-brainer. No doubt I was going to pick it up. Love this thing. One of my favorite finds of the video. Here's the Batman plug and play, and as you can see, the batteries that were inside have corroded and made a mess of everything, but luckily I was able to get to it before anything was actually ruined. I was able to clean everything up and it works fine, but make sure whenever you buy anything that has batteries in it, you check it out right away. Here's a 3DS power supply. This was in that tub of cords. Here is that DS power cord. And these were either $1 or $2 a piece, I can't remember at this point. Here's an official Nintendo AV cable. These are compatible with the Super Nintendo, the N64, and the GameCube. It's in great shape, just pick them up when you find them cheap. In a previous video, we picked up the Nintendo 64 VRU, the voice recognition unit that's used with Hey You Pikachu, and this is actually the official microphone that goes with it. Here's an unofficial 360 breakaway connector. I love that they implemented these into the cords in case someone tripped over it. It just didn't tear the console out of the entertainment center, but of course, most of them are missing because they're not permanently attached. And finally, here's the PS1 AV cable. I don't even need another one of these, but it was in such good shape and I was just throwing it in the lot with the other cords that, I mean, you can't really pass it up. And here are those games that were $2 a piece. This is NCAA Football 13. Now, this isn't the expensive one. That would be NCAA Football 14, and it's expensive because it is the last NCAA football game that was ever released. This is the one that obviously came right before it. I'm not sure exactly what enhancements 14 had over 13, but this game still does have a little bit of value. And one of the cool things about NCAA 14 is it still is kept up to this day. If you own NCAA 14, you can download rosters for current stats of NCAA football teams. Next up is Ben 10 Galactic Racing. I know absolutely nothing about Ben 10, and all I can tell you about this game is that it's a Mario Kart clone. There's a couple things that they really should have done differently, but still, I mean, if this was like a Ren and Stimpy or Nicktoons game, which they actually have a racing game for that now, I would have loved this. It does a good job for fan service. There's a lot of different karts to use, a lot of different areas to see, and a lot of different characters to race with. So I mean, if you like Ben 10, this should be right up your alley. Ben 10 Galactic Racing was developed by Monkey Bar Games, published by D3, and released for DS, 3DS, Wii, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Vita between 2011 and 2012. The game is a Mario Kart clone that uses assets from the Ben 10 universe. There are 5 single-player game modes: Galactic Grand Prix, Short Circuit, Single Race, Time Trial, and Showdown. Throughout the races, you'll collect power-ups and weapons, find shortcuts, do tricks, and drift. There are also multiplayer battle maps and unlockables like characters, carts, and tracks. Although Ben 10 Galactic Racing allows you to choose your character and cart, in Mario Kart 7 you choose your character, cart, wheels, and sail. Since both games were released around the same time, it's a shame Ben 10 Galactic Racing is not as customizable. And I did end up picking up 3 wrestling games from that $2 bin. The first was WWE 13. I don't really have too much to say about it, so I'm just going to show WWE 2K 14 and 15. Now, this is the first of the 2K series. I'm not sure exactly what changed when it became that, whether it was just a different publisher or what. But one of the cool things about 2K 14 is that it actually has the 30 years of WrestleMania, and it's a single-player campaign that has you playing through a bunch of like legendary WrestleMania matches. Just a really cool thing to include in this game. Here's WWE 2K15. This game actually has an over 20-minute install before you could even start playing it at all. Absolutely ridiculous, and then you have to sign like a waiver when you log in for any online play. There's a lot of characters in this game though, and there's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of different matches you can play, and it really is pretty awesome, I won't lie. Not saying it's worth the 20-minute install and having to sign your life away, but it's pretty legit. WWE 2K15 was developed by Yuke, published by 2K Sports, and released for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC in 2014. 2K15 introduces My Career Mode into most ports of the game, where you'll take your custom superstar through their wrestling career. In PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, however, Who Got Next and Proving Ground is there in its place. The 2K Showcase was also introduced in 2K15 and is a single-player campaign that brings you through 33 past matches revolving around 2 different rivalries. The first set of matches are John Cena vs CM Punk, and the second are Triple H vs Shawn Michaels. WWE 2K14 had a similar mode called 30 Years of WrestleMania that had you playing through 45 of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. And next up is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now this is a game that I have not ever had the chance to play. The 2 that I played and beat were the first and second one. I've mentioned this in a previous video when we looked at the PSP game. The first one, even though honestly it was pretty groundbreaking for the time it came out, and this is something I mentioned before, that it's pretty much impossible to go back to at this point. And one day I'll finally get around to playing Black Flag, which I've only heard amazing things about. This copy is a limited edition, which was just bought at a specific store that gave you an extra DLC mission with it. Here's Mafia 3. When I had a 360 back in the day, I absolutely loved Mafia 2, still one of my favorite games of that generation, and one that really has just stuck with me ever since. The first Mafia game was on the original Xbox, so they span 3 generations with this series, and unfortunately the original Mafia game is not yet backwards compatible with the Xbox One, but Mafia 2 is, so you can play Mafia 2 and 3 on the same console without having to pull out your 360, and maybe one day they'll make it to where you can play all of them on a single console. This copy of Madden 10 was in that Mafia case. There's pretty much nowhere for me to put this. I didn't want it, but I didn't want to just throw it back on the table, so I just left it in the case. We're just going to use it as a cheap beer coaster for now on. And like I said earlier, this was the gem of the table. It's an official blue DualShock 3 controller. I do need to do some research on how to tell the bootleg controllers apart from the official ones just at face value without taking them apart, because to this day I still don't know, and there's just tons of bootlegs out there in all colors. But I did have to take this one apart to clean it, and everything on the inside's checked out. Here's Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, and although I've never played this game, I absolutely adore the original Plants vs. Zombies game. The art style is just amazing. Here is Just Dance 2016. I would call this a 10-footer, but this game has a huge fan base. They've made these forever, and the Just Dance games are still actually being made for the original Wii. They were making them for the Wii U up until I think like last year, but they're still making them for the regular Wii, which is pretty insane. We did look at a Just Dance game a couple videos ago, or maybe even more than that at this point, I don't remember, so we're not going to look at this. And 2 for $5 or less is a great deal on current generation games. Here's Scooby-Doo Mystery for the Super Nintendo. This game has great art and great sound. I was actually pretty impressed by it. It really does feel like playing through an episode of Scooby-Doo. It's a bit too cryptic in my opinion, could be a little easier to point you in the direction you're supposed to go, and the jumping is abysmal in this game, so just keep that in mind if you really want to play a Scooby-Doo game. Scooby-Doo Mystery was developed by Argonaut Software, published by Acclaim, and released exclusively in North America for the Super Nintendo in 1995. There is a completely different version of the game on Sega Genesis with the same name. The game contains 4 levels to explore explore as Scooby and Shaggy, the Ghost Ship, the Haunted Amusement Park, the Spooky Swamp, and the Bradshaw Manor. There are also minigames scattered throughout. The duo has a fright meter, and once it fills up, the two will go crazy, run away, and you lose a life. Finding and eating Scooby snacks will bring the meter back down. The rest of the Scooby gang are also present in the game. Velma analyzes clues, Fred gives you information, and Daphne provides Scooby snacks. Don Messick reprised his role as Scooby-Doo one final time for the game before his death in 1997. Here's Legends of the Diamond. It's a relatively late NES release from 1992. Pretty much just another baseball game like the other 20 that are on the console, but there are a couple differences here which we'll touch upon when we look at this a little closer. And by the way, these 3 games were $5 a piece, so nothing special, but just ones I didn't have. Legends of the Diamond was developed by Toei, published by Bandai, and released exclusively in North America for the NES in 1992. The game is a baseball simulator that allows you to choose from 9 teams and 30 baseball legends, including Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Cy Young. You also have the choice to play in a modern-day field or an old-time baseball diamond. Legends of the Diamond does have some robust features for its time, like calling a pinch hitter or relief pitcher, having the pitching coach step in, and dialogue between the teams during play. Out of the 20 baseball games released over the course of the NES's lifespan, Legends of the Diamond is the third to last release, followed only by Baseball Stars 2 and Bases Loaded 4. And for the final game of the video, here's Hot Wheels All Out for the GBA. Like I said before, just stay as far away from this game as you can. I honestly don't think a 10-foot pole is long enough to keep this thing at bay. The game just stinks. If you want a good racing game that's licensed for the GBA, just get that Micro Machines game that we looked at a while back. But just remember, if you're in the States, you're going to have to import it. Hot Wheels All Out was developed by 256, published by Destination Software, and released exclusively for the Game Boy Advance in 2006. All Out features 4 different tracks, 7 types of races, 17 unique cars, and many track obstacles to avoid, like blast pipes, fire-breathing statues, and old ladies crossing the road. Even though the box says that there are 8 sleek 2006 Hot Wheels cars to choose from, there are actually 13 2005 Hot Wheels cars, 3 from previous years, and 1 that is exclusive to the game that has never been officially released. All Out is the 4th and final Hot Wheels GBA game following Velocity X World Race and Stunt Track Challenge. Well, that's all the stuff that I picked up recently. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you picked up or what you've been playing, reading, listening to, whatever, and I'll pick someone in the next video and I'll send you something in the mail. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, stay nerdy.
Getting your nerd on, getting your nerd on, getting your nerd on.
I got a raging nerd on.